Hey, it's Quadix here. I'm here with What If Naruto Wasn't Dumb. Get this to 500 likes and I'll upload the next part. Check out my other quality what ifs. The links to playlists of all the what ifs I've done will be in the description. Check out the community tab. I use that for polls to select what videos I do and more. Please like, comment, queue as much as you would like, or any other comments you may have, like what if suggestions and more. I read and respond to all comments. I'm surprised there wasn't a like in that sentence. Make sure you're subscribed. If not, hit that subscribe button. Check out my Instagram. The link to that will be in the description. Feel free to DM me. I respond to all DMs. Now that whole thing is out of the way, roll the intro. Naruto found out that Kurama had hit bullseye on the analysis of both the jutsus. He created 40 clones, dividing them into two groups to practice while he tested the memories of last night himself. He was able to reduce the time required to form the compressed, explosive ball of air, but it took the clones the better part of 4 hours to reduce the time required to form the high pressure inside him to launch the ball off at high speeds. At the end of 5 hours, he was panting, sweating furiously like a waterfall on his naked upper body. All his clothes were dispelled, including the ones practicing the Suton Jutsu, just to return him the chakra needed for one last try at the jutsu, before he fell to due to chakra exhaustion. Naruto had his hands on his knees, trying to get his breathing to get normal again. Once he wasted no more time in thinking. Speeding through the hand seals, he mentally shouted, "Futon, Kazegiro no Jutsu." He expelled a compressed ball of air from his mouth at great force at a tree. His satisfaction knew to no bounds when the ball exploded on the bark, blowing away a large section of it and making the tree fall. He chuckled tiredly, falling on his back. Man, these elemental jutsus are sure tiring. Hey Kurama, would you mind replenishing my reserves just enough so I can walk? I would rather not eat the soldier pill I have. Kurama's chakra rushed into his system, through not so much that he went into a rage or was full of energy again. He groaned as he sat up, putting on his t-shirt and jacket. He walked back to the house, thoughts of tasty food filling his mind. He walked across a clearing when he heard the sound of bark exploding. Curious, he walked towards it and had to suppress his chuckles in time. Sasuke was trying to climb a tree and falling off. Naruto could see with the many slashes on the bark that showed Sasuke had improved much in just one day, but he was nowhere near the top. Naruto would have moved away if it wasn't for Sasuke discovering him and calling out, "Naruto, is that you?" Naruto turned around. Yup. Awkward silence descended upon them as Naruto waited for Sasuke to speak, while Sasuke did not know what to speak. Naruto, tired of the silence, made to walk away when Sasuke called him out. And there he thinks that he was hesitating and nervous. Well, Naruto raised an eyebrow. It's rare for him to talk to me, especially that he's hesitating. Sasuke glanced away, a faint blush on his cheeks and voice hesitating. I don't like where this is going. This is how some things start that I don't want to start right now. Let's hope for the best. Come on, okay, don't do this. You said you've mastered this exercise before, right? Can you give me any tips? Alright, okay, that's not too bad. That's alright. Naruto was inwardly laughing with Kurama at how awkward Sasuke looked while asking him. As much as I had to say this, he looks more normal in his usual arrogant self. On the outside, he smiled and walked to Sasuke, putting a hand on his shoulder. Sasuke looked surprised by this, even when he heard Naruto speak. You know, you could save a lot of trouble for yourself if you just asked instead of demanding. Amusingly, the faint blush on his face was instantly replaced by his regular scowl. Naruto spoke up before Sasuke. But I will help you. You know, out of the goodness of my heart, he added sarcastically. Sasuke reminded himself to calm down. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to master this exercise. Hell, even Sakura mastered it before him. That's tough. That's tough. Oh, dang. That's an L. That's an L. That is a massive L. He was never in this position of being last, ever. Naruto spoke, holding up a finger. First, chakra uses your spiritual energy, so don't be tense or angry. Basically, don't allow your emotion to reach on extreme points. Second, relax and concentrate on your energy, and collect a constant amount of chakra at the bottom of your feet. That's all I will tell you. Sasuke nodded, and for the first time in his life, he thanked someone other than his family. Thanks. Naruto simply smiled and turned around. Though, you should save it for tomorrow. Dinner is ready, and it's no use training on an empty stomach. Sasuke looked like he wanted to train more, but ultimately agreed on dinner, and they walked away. Dinner was quite a fare. After eating, Naruto helped Tsunami, cause that's what she will be known as until I get her name right, wash the dishes as the others relaxed. Sakura was inspecting a picture on the wall, which had a piece torn off from it. When she inquired about it and how Inari was gazing at it, Tazuna replied that the person whose face was torn off was the hero of this town. The atmosphere in the room was very somber, Naruto noted. Inari had walked off after that, his mother going after him to console him. Tazuna told him the story of Inari's stepfather, how he was considered a hero by everyone and how Gato killed him. Inari had begun to rely on the man to the point where he wouldn't stand up for himself. Gato had him killed to destroy any form of hope in the land and succeeded, traumatizing Inari in the process. Naruto digested this and slowly got up from his seat. He had enough of the depressing atmosphere. Sakura spoke up. Where are you going, Naruto? Naruto didn't turn back as he answered. I've got some unfinished training to do. That was all he said before the door was gently shut. Sakura turned towards Kakashi. What's up with him? Kakashi shrugged. This part is a bit back. The timeline is a bit wonky. This is right after the fight of Kakashi, Naruto, and Zabuza. The mysterious Nin had taken Zabuza to a small house far away and took him inside, placing him onto a bed. I'll have to remove those bandages so you can freely cough up the blood, if he has any to cough, he mused, his hands reaching to pull down the bandages. A rough hand suddenly reached out and grabbed his wrist. I can do that myself, Haku. Zabuza opened his eyes, which were quite bloodshot. He sat up, painfully groaning. He reached behind him to take out the senbone in his neck, small squirts of blood coming out as he pulled them roughly. Please don't pull them out like that, Zabuza-sama, or you will really die, Haku commented with a light voice, which failed to convey his seriousness. Zabuza grunted as he laid on his back. You're vicious as ever, Haku. Haku watched his master lay on the ground. After a few minutes of silence, he spoke up. How will you face them the next time, Zabuza-sama? Zabuza just got a murderous look on his face. Next time, he growled out, more to himself than Haku. I'm taking away that Sharingan from that damned monkey. Okay guys, that is super short, and that is not where I'm leaving it. My apologies. I wouldn't do that to you guys. Zabuza was resting on a cot with a blanket over him. He did not like the fact that he had lost to Kakashi. That damn Sharingan. He hated its abilities, copying off the hard work and dedication he had put into learning his jutsu. In a simple blink, his fists clenched in anger. He could not wait to tear that eyeball out and stomp on it. Moments later, a short man dressed in business suit and 2 samurais of bodyguards entered the room and went over to where Zabuza was. So, the terrifying demon of the mist is crippled after facing a few kids and a ninja? I don't think I'm getting my money's worth. When it comes to paying you, Zabuza, perhaps I should just kill you and spare myself the pain of losing any more money. The short man sneered at the bed resting in. Gato walked over to Zabuza and reached out to strangle him when a figure appeared out of nowhere and grabbed his wrist before ruthlessly twisting it. You will not hurt Zabuza-sama. I won't allow it. Came the hard voice of Haku. He twisted Gato's wrist further to just before the pains of breaking it to drive his point home. Gato shrieked in pain and fell to his knees. Hands off our boss! One of the samurais took a step forward when Haku grabbed the kunai and threw it at them. The samurai dodged it as it got buried into the wall behind them. Seeing them distracted, she pulled out 2 of her senbon and threw it precisely at a point at both of their arms that was rendered immobile. The temperature in the room dropped a few degrees as Haku whispered with deadly intent. I missed your vital point on purpose, so don't test me. Gato snarled as he got up to his feet after Haku released him. Insolent brat! You and Zabuza had better finish the job I gave you, or there will be consequences! With that, he exited the house, followed by his bodyguards, whose arms were still immobile. You know, you don't have to do that for me. I have taken care of it myself when it came to that. Zabuza commented as he fingered the kunai in his hands under the bedsheet. Hold up. What did he do that to kunai? What did he do that to? Wait. What did he do that to kunai? How did I mess it up 3 times? Wait. What did he do that? What did he do to that kunai? That took me like 4 attempts. Jeez. I was aware of that, Zabuza-sama, but as your tool, I will always protect my master in any circumstance, Haku said with a small smile. Zabuza sighed. In any case, I'll be back to full strength in 3 more days, and when I am, his voice turned murderous. Kakashi will die. That was terrible. I plan to never do that again, hopefully. Depends. I might. I don't know. After getting outside, he walked to the spot he was training in since morning. There's something I don't get. His father was killed, and while this is obviously the cause of his grief, why hasn't Inari moved on? Naruto asked Kurama as he neared the training spot. Kurama bluntly pointed it out. Not everyone moves as fast as you do, Naruto. While you quickly moved on from a weakling to making yourself stronger, you're one of the few who can do that. Majority of people are afraid to let go of the grief, afraid that it will lose the connection that binds them to the person who they held close. Naruto took his understanding what Kurama had told him. He knew that whenever a person lost their one of... This is bad grammar. He knew that whenever a person loses one of their close... That was bad grammar. He knew when someone loses someone close to them, they tend to hold on to that feeling for a long time. But it never worked in Naruto's favor, holding on to despair. Instead, he made a choice on what to do about it. Every time when he fell down and had difficulty in finding a reason to get up, he would forcefully shake himself out of the state and willed himself to get up. simply because he had no reason to stay down either. The purpose of his life is to keep moving, and staying down in one spot defied that very purpose. Reaching the spot, he took a breath. With Kurama's help and dinner, Naruto had replenished a little less than 2/3 of his reserves. He was thankful for the fact that every time he spent chakra and replenished it, his reserves would grow, just by a little. At one instant, it won't even be noticeable, but in the long run, it would be beneficial. He made a half ram and 40 clones appeared, smokeless and soundless. The clones divided themselves into two groups of 20 as before and awaited their orders. Naruto thought for a minute and spoke. 20 of you will work on the futon jutsu we learned today. However, I don't consider it mastered until I've managed to perform it perfectly with just one hand seal, considering how strong my affinity is. The group on the right nodded and Flash stepped away to a new location. Naruto turned to the remaining group. I'll be working with you all. We will work on perfecting the Suton Jutsu this night. After perfecting it, we will work on mastering it like the Futon Jutsu, with one hand sealed. Yes, sir! Came to the chorus of the group, and so they began their training until all the clones dissipated and Naruto fell unconscious. Haku wore a pink kimono with red cherry blossoms and wooden sandal. Oh god, here comes the trap. He was carrying a basket and slightly humming to himself. While boys of his age would cringe at his choice of clothes, Haku had no such problem. In fact, he wore them just so he could witness the absolute shock on people's face when they figured out he was a boy and not a girl. It was amusing. No, scratch that. It was always downright hilarious. After an hour of walking, he came upon what he was searching for. Kneeling down, he began to pick herbs. His basket was almost half full when he felt something off. Getting up and turning around, he watched the scene with mild amusement and curiosity. 20 feet away, he saw the boy his master had fought 3 days ago. Naruto. His mind supplied helpfully. From what he had seen in the fight, he was very skilled, both in body and mind. He knew how to perform elemental jutsu, which his master had told him that no genin is capable of. His use of them, incorporating them into his tactics, such as when he beat Zabuza's clone. Granted, the clone only held 1/10 of the original's power. The defeat was nothing short of impressive, and he had come up with a strategy to free his senseis on the fly and had to land 2 hits on Zabuza. The boy was extremely dangerous. The boy was laying down, limbs spread away from the body. He was not even aware of the birds that had taken perch on him. Haku had initially debated. He could either quietly collect his herbs now and leave, or he could kill him and save some trouble later on. He stretched his arms towards Naruto's throat, silently deciding to kill him now and swiftly to spare him the pain. I would advise against that. Haku jumped back in surprise and watched as Naruto instantly opened his eyes, as if he was not asleep at all. But his slightly puffed eyelids gave it away that the boy had been asleep, but woke up due to feeling his presence. Naruto took a few moments to shake off the drowsiness from his eyes before turning to address the girl. Jolting me awake hasn't been pleasant for anyone who has done that. Haku watched as he kept up to as he kept up to his feet before working out all kinks in his joints, all the way completely ignoring his presence. Naruto walked out the stiffness in his body while simultaneously going over the results of last night's training. The group of clones practicing the Futon Jutsu were able to reduce the numbers of hand seals to 1 and execute it perfectly. Well, that's one good thing, he thought. He and the group of clones practicing the water jutsu had also perfected it. Naruto could now use Suton, water-style water severing wave perfectly with all 5 hand seals. In addition to that, he also had the 9 dames notes on the jutsu to help him shorten it to just 1 hand seal. He finally turned to face the girl, who he found was quite pretty. So, what are you doing here? His question snapped Haku out of his trance, and he bent down to make it appear he was picking herbs. I'm picking herbs for a friend. He's quite ill, you see. Haku sincerely hoped his voice did not waver. Naruto, to his credit, only rose an eyebrow. Then you might want to avoid that herb. I've heard it's quite poisonous, he said, nodding towards the ground. Haku looked down and an embarrassed blush came over his face. He was going to pick a herb that was more suited to make poison than antidote. To cover up his embarrassment, Haku decided to introduce himself. By the way, I'm Haku. Naruto extended his hand. Uzumaki Naruto. Nice to meet you, Haku-chan. Haku inwardly laughed as he imagined Naruto's face when he revealed he was a boy. For now though. Nice to meet you too. Naruto gestured to her basket. Can I help you in collecting those herbs? Naruto and Haku collected herbs to fill Haku's basket. Why are you collecting herbs so early in the morning, Ni-chan? Haku replied with a question of his own. What are you doing here so early in the morning? Naruto internally narrowed his eyes at the attempt to avoid the answer, but answered nonetheless. I was training in the night. Guess I felt unconscious due to exhaustion. Haku asked, So, you're a ninja? Naruto nodded with a smile. Haku gave a small, worried frown. But isn't that dangerous? What if you get killed? Naruto shrugged. I may. Oh, it might. I might. I don't know. It comes with the territory. If I died, that means I was meant to. So running away from death would be futile. If I was meant to die so soon, I would have been killed many times over already. Haku gave a small sound of understanding. Ah, I see. And why are you training? Aren't you strong enough? Naruto shook his head. I may be strong, but there's always room for improvement. Besides, becoming stronger means I'll be closer to becoming Hokage. He ended with a grin. Haku stared at him for a few moments, then spoke. You train because you want to be strong enough to protect your precious people, don't you? Naruto gazed at Haku with something akin to respect in his eyes. His azure stared into her light brown as he whispered, Oh no! He did it! They did it! Oh my god. He said her. I got it. No, don't do this. Stop. Even the author's mind was in the gutter. Come on, man. You can't be falling for traps. And now I lost where I was. Okay. His azure stared into his light brown as he whispered, Go on. Haku knew from the moment he gazed into Naruto's eyes that Naruto fully knew what he was talking about. Nonetheless, he spoke. I believe that you have precious people, and you're working hard to grow stronger to protect them. If you have something to protect, only then you can truly be strong. Naruto kept his intense gaze on Haku, who returned it without flinching. After a long moment, Naruto smiled and said, Never have I met anyone before except my Gigi, who shares my understanding of fighting to protect. You have the most accurate idea of where strength comes from, Haku-chan. You have my respect for that. Haku smiled and stood up from where he was sitting and picked up his basket. You will become strong, he stated to Naruto before walking away. Time to reveal his secret. Oh, and by the way, I'm a boy. My bad, flashbacks. Trauma's back. Stop texting me! I'll do it later. He said, turning to flash a smile and Naruto. He almost lost it when Naruto's eyes bulged to the point Haku feared they would fall out of his eye sockets. Naruto couldn't believe it. He thought he was talking to a girl, a very pretty one at that. Hell, even prettier than Hinata. Oh, No Hinata shit, please, no. Finally regaining his composure, he narrowed his eyes at Haku, who was barely restraining his laughter. "I bet you do that to everyone just to see their reactions, don't you?" Haku shook his head. "No comment." That was an answer in itself. Naruto thought as he watched Haku walk away. As he walked away, Naruto allowed his thought process to take over. Haku was obviously not a normal civilian. When Naruto opened his eyes, it was quick, but Naruto had managed to note that Haku had almost taken a fighting stance. The reaction was performed on instinct, which left no doubt that Haku was a fighter, and an experienced one at that. Second thing, Haku's chakra felt strange to him. While he was still refining his sensing abilities to the point where he could sense people's affinities, he sensed the bare minimum. Haku's chakra definitely had water, and something was rough and sharp at the same time. The closest thing to that description is the wind, he deduced. But what did these two add up to? Multiplying affinities usually point towards the presence of a bloodline limit. Before he could continue his thought process, he sensed Sasuke coming to him. Putting on a smile, he greeted his teammates. "Good morning, Sasuke." Sasuke grunted in response before saying, "You missed breakfast, Naruto." Naruto blinked in response, then shook his head. He would go back to see if any breakfast was left. He always went crazy on an empty stomach. He walked past Sasuke, who was warming up with some stretches. Naruto had no doubt the boy was going to put his steps to test while climbing the tree. Reaching the house, he went inside and found Tsunami washing the plates from breakfast. Hesitating a bit, he called out, "Tsunami-san?" The woman turned and smiled upon seeing Naruto. "Naruto-kun, you're back!" Her smile turned into a concerned frown. "Are you alright? You were training all night. What if you had a cold?" Naruto shook his head, amused at the notion. He had never been ill in his life, courtesy of having the Kaibi residing in him. "I don't catch a cold, Tsunami-san. I was wondering if you had any leftovers from breakfast." Guys, that's where I'm gonna end it. This has been a long one. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next part. Bye.
Wanted a bitch who was on the move, but you on a goddamn late. Got that one in my bed and she just wanna sleep. Fucking up all of the sheets. She only wake up to eat. Do this shit every week. Like why you do that? Crying you wanna be great, but sleeping until the next day. Why you do that? Got that much in the bank. We go out, she order the steak. Why you do that?